Bottom of the hour, back on Get Up. Stephen A. will join us in a moment, but let's do a windy watch. The Windman is live in L.A. this morning, and we've got a lot of interesting news. How about Jalen Brunson, Windman?
Man, what a performance by him over the last couple of weeks in the clutch. He's had 3 straight games where he's basically carried the Knicks to victory. He had the pass that led to OG Anunoby's 3 in Memphis on Friday, and then last night carrying them to get to overtime and then carrying them in overtime. He's the number 1 clutch scorer and the number 1 clutch percentage. So he gets it done efficiently, just carrying them right now as they try to get healthy. The Celtics had an interesting weekend, Greeny. They had the Celtics and the Nuggets. This is 2 games at home over teams that they could have to play to get their 2nd consecutive title. Both games, they blew the other team out to open the game. Were far and away the more impressive team, totally took control, even despite missing 2 starters. And then in both games, they let go of the rope. In the Cavs game, they had Donovan Mitchell. Donovan scored 40, and the Cavs ended up winning that game. In this one, they held on. They are so impressive, but yet there are times when they lose focus, and that makes them absolutely the favorite to repeat and absolutely vulnerable that they can be beaten. That's a key to remember. But one of the teams that's challenging and is headed out east to see the Celtics this weekend, the Lakers win their 6th consecutive game last night. They also are missing 2 starters. Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves were out. LeBron has 8 turnovers, although there's brilliant chase down block. But Luka is starting to warm up, Greeny. His last couple of games, that 3-pointer is starting to go. He made 5 threes last night. Those legs are starting to get a little bit more under him. And the Lakers defense continues to be impressive. Over the last 15 games, they are 3rd in the league in 3-point defense. That's driven their ability to get on this number 2 seed perch in the Western Conference this morning.
Which is where they sit right now. And Windy is in L.A., and this man was in L.A. this weekend and has made it here. The great Stephen A. Smith, of course, first take is 28 minutes away. And Windy and I have been talking about the Lakers all morning long. When this trade was made, Stephen A., everyone told me, well, the future looks incredibly bright for the Lakers, maybe even as soon as next year when they can address their deficiency as far as size. How in the world did we get from that to where all of a sudden they're the 2 seed and looking like a legitimate contender this fast?
Well, first order of business, before I answer that question, I would appreciate it if Windy, in his long diatribe next time, would acknowledge that his boy, his brother from another mother, was telling everybody the Cavs are the number 1 threat to the Boston Celtics. He just glossed over that. He just glossed over that. He forgot that I've been screaming in this ear for weeks about that. We'll get back to that later.
I think you're a fan of Donovan Mitchell, too.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Lakers, J.J. Redick. J.J. Redick's a candidate for Coach of the Year. Well, what he has done, he has been absolutely sensational as a coach over the last several weeks. When you consider, yes, LeBron is there. Yes, Luka Doncic is there. The Los Angeles Lakers are the number 1 defense over the last 6.5 weeks. I mean, who would have thought ever that would be the case? Looking at this squad, looking at how undersized their front line is, looking at Jackson Hayes at center, looking at guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Jared Vanderbilt and these guys who can play and who can defend. But we didn't see this coming. And the way that he has them playing defense collectively has really, really been the unsung story in all of this, because the Lakers have gotten in people and have shut down folks when necessary. And that's where the credit is due. Offensively, obviously, they've been efficient, and we can't ignore that. But we anticipated that could happen. We didn't anticipate that we would see this defensively, and that's what the issue is.
It's interesting. I was watching all you guys out in L.A. last week, and we actually borrowed a tape from Perk. We used one of his tapes about what they're doing defensively, and Windy's been talking about it. Their strategy has been fascinating. They just pack everything into the middle, and they say, if you're going to beat us, you're going to make threes. And they are letting guys, as our old friend Jalen used to say, who are open for a reason, just throw up threes, and they don't make them. It's an interesting strategy in this NBA age where everyone wants to throw up so many threes. JJ's kind of going the other direction, and it is working.
And it's working, and not only that, just look at their coverage. They can sit up there, they'll double you in the post area, but you'll kick it out, and they'll still get out fast enough to defend and contest of an opposing three-point shot. The ability, the quickness on the perimeter is what I've noticed, Wendy. That's what really has stood out with me watching the Los Angeles Lakers. JJ knows who to use, when to use them, but most importantly, he's gotten everybody to buy in. I'm looking at Luka Doncic give defensive effort that I've never seen him give before. That says something.
Okay, let me ask you one more, and then I'm going to bring Windy back into the conversation. But because I haven't seen you in a little while here, the two huge acquisitions were obviously Luka in L.A.
Yeah.
And the Butler bump, as our friend Alan Hahn keeps calling it, in Golden State. Both those teams have looked great. The superstars, LeBron and Steph, have looked rejuvenated. If I told you one of those two teams is going to wind up in the Western Conference Finals,
Lakers.
which one?
It would be Lakers. It would be the Lakers because of the way they're defending and the combination of Luka and LeBron. However, we can't take away the fact that Jimmy Butler has upgraded Golden State significantly. And one of the points that I brought up, and Wendy knows this because I brought it up several times, Jimmy Butler's ability to get to the free throw line, I think he was averaging like 9.3 free throws per game. Understand what that does. That spells for Steph Curry without having to take him out of the game because you're in attack mode. His usage rate is second to Steph Curry on the team, at least before the last couple of games. And him getting to the free throw line on top of all of that takes a lot of the pressure off of Steph Curry because it gives him air to breathe. And as a result, he's appearing rejuvenated, evidenced by his 30-plus point per game average since Jimmy Butler has arrived. That's what we're seeing from Golden State right now. Kuminga coming back, it'll be interesting to see how they gel once all of that happens. But Jimmy Butler has definitely been a pleasant surprise. We know what he can do individually, especially come playoff time. I just didn't think that it would be this good of a match with him and Steph Curry in a totally different kind of way. He benefits Steph Curry almost as much as Klay Thompson did. And that's what is surprising to me, and pleasantly so. So anything's possible, but I would still go with the Lakers.
So both those teams right now are looking good. Windman, let me come back to you. We talked about it, you and I did in our meeting this morning a little bit. The Suns lose again yesterday. They looked just awful at the end of the game. Kevin Durant used the word embarrassing after the game was over. Their season feels hopelessly lost. What are you expecting as far as Durant is concerned? Because we've got the rejuvenation of LeBron and the rejuvenation of Steph Curry. The third all-time great of that generation is KD. What does his future look like in your view this summer?
This is actually very simple. In the current landscape in the NBA, you simply cannot have an expensive team that is bad. You're in a straitjacket. Next year, between their big three, Beal, Booker, and Durant, they owe them $150 million. That's number one in the league amongst any three players. They are under 500 team, even at full strength. They cannot trade Bradley Beal. He has a no-trade clause. They will not trade Devin Booker, who's 28 years old and their franchise player. What are you going to do? You can't bring the same team back and expect different results. You are left with the reality that you're going to have to trade Kevin Durant. Is it an ironclad 1 billion% lock? No. But they came to this same understanding at the trade deadline, which is why they had multiple discussions about it. The key with Durant, and I'll be real quick here, is our teams looking to acquire Kevin Durant as an expiring contract? In other words, they're looking for him on a one-year rental where they can give the Suns some stuff? Or are they trying to trade for Kevin Durant where they would extend him multiple years on his contract, which is probably what he wants? That question is going to define a big chunk of the offseason.
What should we expect with Kevin Durant next year? Is there a situation... Like I don't know, I'm a sentimental, you know me, I'm sentimental.
Yeah.
Like I want to see these guys at least go out on winning teams and with a chance to compete. Does that exist for Kevin Durant?
Me personally, I think it does. A lot of people don't believe me on this, and maybe they're right and I'm wrong. I'm talking about what should happen. The Oklahoma City Thunder should go and get Kevin Durant back. And here's what, if you lose this year, if you don't get it done this year, they should go back and get Kevin Durant. They've got so many assets. They have stuff to give away. They can't possibly use all of them.
Right.
Phoenix is in desperate need for assets. Now, obviously, that's something that could potentially alienate Devin Booker because he's not trying to be a part of a rebuilding or a reclamation project. But if you are the Phoenix Suns and you're trying to get what you can for an aging Kevin Durant, albeit a superstar who is aging, then you call the Oklahoma City Thunder. And this is why I say Sam Presti should consider it, especially if the Oklahoma City Thunder don't win this year. Enough of Sam Presti. The man is a phenomenal executive. We know this, but I'm sick of, you got to close. Always be closing. You remember the movie Glengarry Glen Ross?
Yes.
With Alec Baldwin? Always be closing.
Yeah.
Sam Presti has had 17 years and has never closed. He's had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson, Carmelo Anthony, Victor Oladipo. I mean, the list goes on and on. Now you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, you got Chet Holmgren, you got Hartenstein, you got everything. I mean, my God, this man has had everything but an apron and a bib. You got to win. You got to win. It is enough of this, I'm good enough, we're in the mix, all of this stuff. You have to close at some point. And he has yet to do it in his 17 years as an executive in Oklahoma City. You got to close the deal. And if you can't get it done this year, the way y'all looked last year as the number 1 seed, the way you're looking right now as the number 1 seed. Shai Gilgeous was my MVP last year. He's my MVP now. This brother is a superstar. And Jalen Williams can ball. And the other cats that I mentioned can all ball. They're young. They're athletic. They defend. You got Alex Caruso there now, too. Your defense. I pointed out on NBA Countdown yesterday. 9 different categories they're number 1 in defensively. Everything. Even loose balls that they capture. They're number 1 in everything. There is no excuse. If you cannot win this year, you go out and you get Kevin Durant to play with the cats that I mentioned, because you're not going to have to give them up with all the assets that you have to offer. That's what Oklahoma City should do.
Look, KD going back to Oklahoma City, I'm Mike Greenberg, and I approve that message. One more for you very quickly.
Yes, sir.
Orange and blue skies. Knicks have had a very good weekend. That's your team. Everybody knows it. What are they capable of this spring?
Going home in the second round.
Cleveland and Boston just too good?
Too good. I love my Knicks. You know that. Orange and blue skies all day, every day, but you got to be realistic. The New York Knicks with the Karl Anthony Towns trade got better talent-wise, but they lost some of their grit that they had with the Julius Randle, with the Dante DiVincenzo, okay, with the Hartenstein as well. Hartenstein, big loss. If Hartenstein was still on this team would have a shot to go against Cleveland and against Boston. But because they're lacking in that regard, even with Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, I'm of the mindset that they're just a significant notch below Cleveland and Boston. They don't have what it takes. New York Knicks are destined to